failure to report misconduct could cost you your job. And it has cost many correctional officers their job for failure to report misconduct. So, if it's mandatory to report staff misconduct, why are so many officers being retaliated against for reporting misconduct? Where are we missing a link here? So, in my hand are Chapter 33 from the Florida Department of Corrections, Florida statutes, Florida Department of Law Enforcement policies that say when and how and why you must report staff misconduct, and how it is the agency's responsibility to investigate staff misconduct, and it is the agency's responsibility to report a finding to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, the police of the police as I call them, to see if everything is on the up and up and was done properly. Okay, so who's watching who here? I know that in the past, when I was with the Florida Department of Corrections, and I know that in the present, officers that are presently with the Florida Department of Corrections have been retaliated against for reporting abuse of inmates, reporting people beating an inmate. Now, that doesn't make you an inmate lover because you report a crime. You know, that peer pressure thing that a lot of those small good old boy groups like to put on you, like, man, you know, you're just an inmate lover. No, you're doing your job. You're an honest, professional correctional officer. Okay? And I think it's about time that legislature in Florida gets somebody, congressman or somebody, to get something going on this, because too many officers are being retaliated against by the good old boy system. You know, I'm going to just read some one-liners off these. Don't worry, I'm not going to bore you with these. Every state has their own policy and procedure. Every state has their own state statutes. Every state has their own entity that polices the police. So you look up your own if you're not from Florida. I just have these from Florida in my hand because I'm from Florida. But what good are they if they tell you you must do this, you must report misconduct, but in the middle there's a blockage. There's supervisors and leaders, and hey, wardens have done it. Higher ups, the Secretary of Corrections has done it here in Florida a while back. In 2006, he went to prison, him and his undersecretary. They were covering up all kinds of things. You know, you have all these things, but yet they still cover it up, and nothing's being done about it. And then there's some good officers scared to report anything because they're afraid they'll be bullied by a small group of good old boys. Yes, we have a small group of bad apples in corrections. We all know that will bring in drugs, contraband, have sex relations with inmates. That's a small group that make everybody look bad. The good old boys are making everybody look bad also, folks, because they're pushing down on the honest, hard-working officers, trying to get rid of the corruption around them by hiding their allegations, by not reporting their allegations, by not investigating their allegations properly. Now, I want to put one thing out there for sure before I just give you a one-liner on these. Making a false report of a crime is covered under Florida statute, okay? 817.49. So remember, falsifying an allegation against someone is bad. Don't do that. If you have seen someone commit a crime in your work area in the Department of Corrections, yes, you must report it according to all these wonderful things. Only report what you saw. Don't fabricate anything to make it better in your eyes or make it more, you know, exciting. Nothing's exciting about this stuff, folks. If it was that exciting, you know, we'd be in Hollywood making movies about our policies and procedures. It's just our work area, our life, our zone, the way we operate. So, Don't fabricate anything. Don't falsify any documents to make it look worse than it is, because you can go down for a felony, third-degree felony, falsifying records. Florida Statute 839.13. There's always something that covers what you do. So you know what? Just be honest and truthful, and don't make up an allegation against anybody, and only report what you saw, and then let the chips fall where they may. But here's what I want to talk about today. Chapter 33, 208.002, Rules of Conduct. Knowledge of any violation of the law, rules, directives, or procedures of the department will be reported and submitted to the warden, regional director, or circuit administrator in central office. This report shall be submitted to the employee's bureau chief, etc. In other words, you have each employee shall make a full written report within 24 hours of any of these issues found. You know, criminal charges, arrests on yourself, criminal charges against yourself, and any knowledge of someone else committing any of these things. So that's chapter 33. Florida Statutes 838.022 also talk about obstructing, delaying, or preventing the communication of information relating to the commission of a felony that directly involves or affects the government entity served by the public servant or public contractor. Basically what it's saying is report a crime. Report things when you know about it. Under the Moral Character Guide, taken off the FDLE channel, you have falsifying records, making a false statement that I talked about earlier, failure to report. Now that failure to report will get you. I've done investigations myself in the Department of Corrections where either officers were scared to death to tell me anything because there was this little group of good old boys kind of hovering over them, waiting for them to come out of the office to see what they told me. And that's another thing, you're not supposed to talk about an open investigation. And here they are just waiting. What did he say? What did he ask you? What did he do? This type of group is what causes friction in the workplace between the officers trying to do their job and the bullies. I call them the bullies of corrections. We have no need for that. If you're not doing anything wrong, why do you need to be out there trying to find out what everybody's saying? Now, and then undue familiarity between correctional officers and inmates. There's a lot of things, if you look that up, that will talk about what we're talking about today. Things that go on between staff and inmates that need to be reported. But anyway, there's so many things out there that cover this area. But why then are we not following those rules? You know, if we stop things when they happen and take care of business, we should be able to prevent things from happening again. Not that they won't happen from time to time, but it sure should prevent a lot of abuse cases, drug smuggling cases, sex with inmates, if these folks are reported. You know, it still has bugged me for 30 years now. I did 28.5 in corrections. Why would you want to lose your job over inmate abuse? You lost, because when you do get investigated, as we've had several in the past couple of years here in Florida, and you do get arrested, as we've had several here in Florida, and you do go to jail, who won? Who really won? Did those hits that you gave the inmate do anything for you? Did you prove a point? The point I'm trying to make is don't give anyone an excuse to come after anybody, to come after the Department of Corrections, to retaliate against anyone. Don't give anybody an excuse. And let's hope that failure to report misconduct could cost you your job is taken seriously by both sides, that it's mandatory to report misconduct. But we have to have stronger retaliation rules and laws put in place. It's not working the way it is now. Let's work harder to do our best to make the corrections environment safe for everyone. Safety and security is number one. Thank you all for your service, and take care. True Prison Stories.